Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us today for this information session on the Alinvest program and its second call for proposal. My name is Nicoletta Favaretto, and I'm Senior Project Officer at Eurochambres, the Association of European Chambers of Commerce and Industry based in Brussels. Today, we have a very rich agenda. So Christiane Beck, Director for International Donors at SEQA, Coordinator of the Alinvest Verde Consortium, will join me for the welcome address. Then Irene Haddad, Team Leader, and Frank Summa, Project Director, both working in implementation of Component 1 of Alinvest Verde at SEQA, will give you an overview of the program and its objective, as well as some statistics on the evaluation results of the first call for proposal. We will then dive into the second call and the content of the second call, its guidelines, and then provide you with practical information on the logical framework and on how to complete the budget. We will also give you some tips on how to avoid common mistakes when applying. Lastly, we will have a question and answer session. And for this, we invite you to post your question in the question and answer box that you will find on your screen. Please remember that this session will be recorded and presentation will be made available on the Alinvest Verde website. It is a pleasure for me today to moderate this session on behalf of Eurochambres. Our association represents, with its 45 members, 43 national chambers of commerce and industry in Europe and 2 transnational CCIs, over 20 million enterprises across Europe. Via its members, Eurochambres is a network of 1,700 local and regional chambers of commerce and industry. Eurochambres has been involved in implementation of EU finance programs on regional economic cooperation, internationalization and innovation for more than 15 years now in Latin America. We were involved in implementation of the Alinvest Verde program, Alinvest, Centro America Exporta, the ELA Network project, and the Latin America IP SME Help Desk. We are honored to be part of the implementing consortium of the new Alinvest Verde program. This program really represents several opportunities. The opportunity to support sustainable growth and job creation in Latin America, the opportunity to boost bi-regional partnerships, so important these days among the 2 regions, and to work in the field of green economy. And lastly, the opportunity to mobilize EU private sector know-how and expertise in support to the green transition of micro and small and medium-sized enterprises. Without further ado, I give the floor now to Christiane Beck, Director for International Donors at SEQA. Christiane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nicoletta. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to be here addressing some welcoming remarks to this interested audience. Just a few background information. My name is Christiane Beck. I'm the head of unit International Donors at SEQA. SEQA is the German development agency, if you want to say, of the private sector. We've been founded some 30 years back to organize and coordinate the work of German chambers and associations all over the world. SEQA is in the lucky position to lead this interesting consortium, which is implementing Alinvest Verde Component 1. Alinvest Verde Component 1, I know that you're all very eager to learn about the details of the second call, but to give you a little bit of a frame, Alinvest is not just, Alinvest Verde is not just on its own right now. It looks back down to a long history of more than 28 years of Latin American and EU cooperation. It is now officially the 6th edition, and it is the first Verde edition, which has the objective to promote partnerships between the EU and Latin America for the sake of circular economy and sustainable development. So our idea is to promote small and medium enterprises in Latin America who then create jobs and produce and consume more sustainable and more resource efficiently. The challenging part, or the most interesting part of this current edition, is perhaps that we are now more looking at the issue of partnerships between Latin America and the EU. In the previous editions, there was also the opportunity to co-fund sub-grants, but they were not that comprehensive as they are now. Now we really want to call upon interested and relevant institutions in the EU and in Latin America to join hands. We would like to forge partnerships between EU and Latin American institutions, which then create the chances for the micro and medium enterprises in Latin America to produce in a more greener, in a more verde way. The idea is perhaps a little bit more challenging because you need to find a partner to apply for a grant here, but it has the opportunity and entails the possibility to have a more sustainable relationship between Latin America and the EU, and also to have an easier way maybe to transfer know-how and best available techniques with regards to green economy from EU to Latin America. So it is now my pleasure to hand over to Frank. And I'm very happy that so many EU institutions are here today. You're really the ones who play an important role, and we would really like to encourage you to find a Latin American partner and to develop a proposal together. As you will see right now, and Frank and Irene will explain to you, and later on Nicoletta detail even more, it is not that challenging. We wanted to make it easier than the usual way to apply for a grant here, and we have even compiled do's and don'ts to avoid pitfalls so that it is easily or more easily possible to apply for a grant and be successful and join a very nice and talented network which has been established already within the context of the first call proposal, to join this network and to work for the transition towards a low carbon, resource efficient and more circular economy in Latin America. Thank you very much. Enjoy and draft a proposal and hand over to Frank.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Christiane and Nicoletta, for your introductory words. My name is Frank Summer. I'm also working at Sequa headquarters in Bonn, Germany, and I'm the director of Component 1 of Alinvest Verde. So it's good to have you here today to this practical workshop, and perhaps some of you already participated 2 weeks ago in the launching event on the 23rd of May. So let me just finish this short introductory presentation that Christiane started. So in Component 1, we manage funds for the financing of green economy projects that arise from the partnership, as Christiane laid out, between business organizations in Latin America and the European Union. And in this way, we provide a funding opportunity for small and medium-sized enterprises to achieve competitive advantages that position them at the forefront of their sectors. So our component is implemented throughout most of the region, and this component, as said by Christiane, is implemented by Sequa. We are part, or we are leading these the consortium, the implementing consortium, involving different institutions from the European Union and Latin America. So there is, above all, our host for today, Eurochambres, and I thank Eurochambres and the colleagues very much for hosting today this event. Eurochambres is the only partner, apart from Sequa, from the European Union. And then we have 5 more partners in Latin America, which is the Guatemalan Exporters Association, AGEXPORT, the Confederation of Trade and Business Associations of Brazil, CSCB, the Chamber of Industry, Commerce, Services and Tourism of Santa Cruz de la Sierra in Bolivia, CAINCO, the Lima Chamber of Commerce in Peru, and the Employers Confederation of the Mexican Republic, Coparmex Jalisco. We also have a certain number of associated institutions in different program countries, and the logos of them can be seen below the line. But although we represent Alinvest Verde today, if you look at it closely, we only represent component 1, but the program consists in total of 3 components. So our colleagues from component 2 work with public institutions in the region and deal with policy advocacy for the effective implementation of core environmental and labor standards. And this component is being implemented directly by a consortium of member states formed by Fiat from Spain and ILA from Italy. And component 3 is managed by the EU Intellectual Property Office, and it deals, as the name says, with the intellectual property rights. So the objective of our components are to promote sustainable growth and job creation by supporting the transition to a low carbon, resource efficient and more circular economy in Latin America, and to encourage SMEs in Latin America to adopt cleaner and more sustainable processes and practices as a key element for their competitiveness. So the idea is to turn climate and environmental challenges into business opportunities. So let me summarize some key facts about the program. So overall, our component has a duration of 60 months from December 2021, when we started with the implementation, until November 2026. And the total budget for our component amounts to 31.25 million euro. And the implementation methodology is twofold. On the one hand, together with our consortium partners, we are implementing direct activities to contribute to the program indicators. However, a large part of the work in the consortium is, of course, the launching of calls for proposals, such as this one, the second one, with the business organizations being able to submit their projects, but then afterwards, of course, the evaluation, the contracting, and above all, the monitoring of all these projects. The contracted projects that we call partnership projects are also contributing strongly to the achievement of the program indicators. And on this, we will focus later on in another presentation. And as up to 80% of the eligible costs of the above mentioned budget are financed by the European Union, the total funding by the EU for our component is up to 25 million euro. The first call took place in last year. Perhaps some of you already participated during this proposal. This process, we received in total 136 proposals from all over the region. And we are very happy that we received proposals from each of the 18 eligible countries. After having finalized the evaluation process, we finally contracted 24 projects, which are now currently running. And for the implementation of these projects, just over 7 million euros as EU contribution have been earmarked. The projects are currently implemented in the following 11 Latin American countries. And we're here only counting the projects where the main activities are taking place. This is why, for example, Guatemala is not appearing, although activities in one project are also carried out in this country. But the countries where a great part of the activities is being implemented are Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, Chile, Ecuador, El Salvador, Honduras, Peru, and Uruguay. EU institutions are currently involved in 5 countries, namely in 6 from Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And these 24 projects are implemented by business organizations, foundations, NGOs, etc. from Latin America, but also from the EU. On the slide, you can see the logos of the coordinators, meaning only the leaders of the consortia consortia implementing the project. But since each project has to be implemented by at least 2 institutions, as mentioned already by Christiane, it has to be partnerships. We have in total about 66 individual institutions that in different cases appear even in different consortia. So these organizations are committed to the development of green economy in the respective countries, and thus, among others, contribute to the creation of sustainable jobs. As in the case of this call for proposals, the partnership projects currently running focus also on two thematic areas. The first seeks the implementation of sustainable agri-food systems and value chains without deforestation, while the second is geared towards the transition of low carbon, resource efficient and circular business models. So quite similar to the lots that are now published. So there is really a wide variety of subjects in these 24 projects, from agricultural projects in the field of beekeeping, wine growing, avocado, coffee, and much more, to plastic prevention projects, innovative approaches for the textile industry, reduction of packaging waste in the electricity industry, and many other innovative projects in the sustainable strengthening of the private sector. Well, here I end with my short presentation for the time being, and I wish you all that this workshop today will be fruitful and answer already many of the questions I'm sure that exist on your side. So now we will continue with the details of the second call, and together with my colleague Irene, which is the team leader of our component, we will present these details. So thanks for the time being, and I'll be back in some minutes.
Good morning, everybody. Just let me share my screen. Okay, here it is. So good morning, Europe. I am happy to be here with you this afternoon. Today is the International Environment Day, so I think it's a very good idea to hold this webinar today. So thank you very much for being here and for your interest in this second call of projects. In the following presentations, we will provide you with practical information to apply in the second call of the program. I will tell you about the application requirements and how to apply. Then Frank, the program director, will discuss about indicators, log frame, and indicative action plans. Later, I will guide you about the budget formulation. And finally, Nicoletta will intervene again to comment on the do's and don'ts of applying. If you have any question related about presentations of today, please write down on the chat and we will try to answer all the questions. If some questions are not being answered today, you can fill in the form on our website and we will answer you in the following days. The first thing you should know when applying is that you will find all the information you need to use on our website. You can also know more about our component 1 and about the other 2 components and about in general information of the program through our website and also through our social networks. At the end of the presentation, I will also show you our website and where you can find all the information we are talking about today. So, proposal for this call must be fall in one of the 2 thematic lots shown below. For example, lot 1 talk about sustainable and deforestation-free value chains in the agri-food industry. Partnership project should present an integrated and comprehensive approach, including different actions such as digital, geolocation solutions, training and capacity building for SMEs on the requirements of the EU deforestation regulation, and promoting certification schemes, and incentive for inclusive and sustainable agri-food value chains, among other subjects. Lot 2, it's about transition to circular, resource-efficient and low-carbon business models. Project should promote sustainable economic practices, such as the use of clean energy sources, waste management, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, among others. Some key data about this call for proposal. So, you have to keep in mind that you have to apply with innovative and comprehensive project. That means not just in a specific action or activity, with an overall multiplier effect among SMEs and productive units, which are the final beneficiaries of this program. The duration of the project should be between 18 and 17 months. The project should be executed in one of the Latin American countries which are eligible under this call for proposal. You can also execute the project in multiple Latin American countries, but keep in mind that you have to choose one of the Latin American countries where the action will take place mainly. The amount of the EU funding for each project is between minimum of 200,000 and 300,000 euros. This fund represents from 50% to 80% of the total budget. Here I left two examples. For example, if you apply with 300,000, you can request for the 80% of the project. Pardon, if you present 375,000 project, you can request to the program 300,000, and the rest should be financed by your own institution, right? By the applicant institution. That means 80% request to the program and 20% by the own institution. Then you have another example, but that can be changing according to the project you can apply. Okay, some mandatory requirements. Each project must be submitted by partnership between at least one Latin American institution and one institution from the European Union. One of them should be the main applicant and the other are called the co-applicants. You should be a legal entity established in the European Union or in one of the Latin American eligible countries. To apply as a leader, the following criteria must be met. For example, be a non-profit legal entity, be established in one of the countries I mentioned before, identify itself as an eligible institution representing the private sector or as a research institution, among others. Applicant must be business organization representing the private sector, for example, Chamber of Commerce, or multilateral chambers, sector-specific trades, industrial and professional association, non-profit cooperative sectoral agencies working with SMEs, research centers or think tanks and other organizations focused on innovation, digitalization, or transition to a green economy can also participate. Please note that this call is aimed at business organization, so SMEs and for-profit entities cannot apply. Public organizations can apply as co-applicants. European binational chamber based in Latin America are considered as European party. International organizations can apply a third party. That means you will need an organization from the European Union and another one from Latin America. Natural persons are not eligible to apply. Each institution can apply once as applicant and several times as co-applicant in this call for proposal. Just take into account that the amount in charge of the program must not exceed 300,000 euros per institution in the entire program. We will award a maximum of 3 projects per lot per country. That means a maximum of 6 projects per country in this call. Some information about how to apply. So, check all the documentations, guidelines and format that are available on our website. Identify at least one partner from Latin America to present the project. In the case, if you are from Latin America, identify one in the European Union. If you don't have a partner, you can register on the platform B2Match. This is optional, it's not compulsory. You will find access through the website I will show you later on. Decide which of the two lots you want to participate in: sustainable deforestation, free value chain in the agri-food industry, or transition to circular, resource efficient and low carbon business models. Download the documentation that you will find in our website, fill in all the documents and submit your proposal. It is only the leader of the proposal who should apply. The deadline for this call for proposal is on August 23rd, before midnight German time. How to find a partner to submit a joint proposal. This is an image of the Bit2Match website we are using in this call for proposal. So if you don't have a partner, register and create a profile as complete as possible, so someone else can find you easily. Look for like-minded organization for the development of the common project. The platform allows you to establish contact at whole meetings, or you can do a meeting somewhere else too. This is not compulsory, but it's very useful if you don't know another institution to work with. So let's show you some practical information about our website and where you can find the information. So first of all, go to our website. In the website, it's available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So you have to read your proposal in one of these three languages. On our website, under the Component 1 section, you will find the submenu Second Call. In this submenu, you will find all the necessary information and application requirements. In the same submenu, you will find the application documents. You must download them, fill them in, sign them, and attach the requested supported information. In the same place, in the same submenu, you will find the application form. Click on it to fill in with all information we will request you. Finally, upload the requested document to the form. You must enter your details and attach supporting document and required information. So I stop here, for instance, and let the floor to my colleague, Frank again.
Yes, thanks a lot, Irene. Let us continue with this funny presentation hopping. So I'll share now my screen again. So in the following, I would like to outline some important aspects for the elaboration of the logical framework and the indicative action plan for the preliminary planning. So the log frame template is included in the application documents as Appendix 1 to Annex 1, and the outline of the action plan is provided for in Chapter 3.5 of the grant application form. So in this slide, we briefly remind you of the log frame of our component of the All-Invest program, as it can be found also in the guidelines in Chapter 1 to 6. It's called expected results. And the indicators, and as you can see here, are composed of 2 indicators associated to the specific objective, plus 2 outputs with 6 indicators each. And important are the indicators marked in green, as out of these 5 indicators, at least 3 will have to be targeted by your project. We are therefore calling them priority indicators in the following. And the 2 specific objectives indicators will have to be targeted in any case. So in the end, you have 5 indicators for which to propose values in your proposal. The first specific objective indicator is indicator OE11. The OE comes from Spanish because it's objetivo específico. And here in English, we have specific objective, but we would like to keep the nomenclature as it is. And this refers to the number of SMEs adopting sustainable and digitized economic practices. Certain actions that might be considered are, for example, efficiency in processes, energy, more efficient distribution, logistics chain, or sorting and reuse of waste, redesign of processes, products, services, and other subjects. The second specific objective indicator refers to the number of full-time green and digital jobs that have been created, maintained, or reoriented in the beneficiary MSMEs, producer groups, or associations. So it's not only about creating new jobs, but also on maintaining jobs, or if employees are reoriented and have now new working fields. And here we are, of course, talking about, let's put it in green working fields, green digital working fields, and you know what I'm referring to. So the first of the priority indicators is number 1.2. This is the number of MSMEs obtaining sustainability standards and or certifications such as good manufacturing practices or organic certification, among others. These may include national certifications issued by a certifying company, public or private bodies, but also implementation and introduction of sustainable standards. It's not meant to realize a fully fledged ISO certification, for example, which would not be realistic with the time and the budget available in any case. The second of the priority indicators is 1.3, is the number of MSMEs reporting increased turnover as a direct result of support received by the project. So the numbers of MSMEs that have increased sales and generated new business within the local, national, or international market. Here, permanent follow-up of SMEs is needed, and it's not necessary, for example, to wait until the very end of the project to get the data, because you will have fluctuations and developments all along the project implementation. The third priority indicator is number 1.4, number of MSMEs reporting savings in resource usage, taking into consideration greenhouse gas or resource savings. So here one can imagine a product that was produced with less input, raw material, for the same output, namely that product. So recycling is part of it, for example, reutilization of wastewater for irrigation, to name an example. The fourth of the priority indicators, number 2.3, this is the number of MSME staff with increased knowledge in access to finance. This could involve training about how to access a credit, how to write a business plan, which resources of financing could be used for greening or digitizing activities, or which taxes could be exempted when greening the company, for example. And the last and fifth of these priority indicators is 2.6, the number of bankable projects developed by MSMEs through BMOs, business membership organizations. So BMOs know their members and support them in developing more sustainable green and digital projects, activities, services, and products. So in particular, through the cooperation and memoranda of understanding, for example, with public and finance institutions, BMOs might be able to foster MSMEs in developing and upscaling best practices and orientate the formulation of projects to apply for available financing opportunities. So let me get continue further with the log frame. There are three types of indicators in the log frame. On the first hand, we have impact indicators. That means those indicators reflecting the adoption of a real change in the companies. Targets are associated with the number of MSMEs that have adopted or implemented actions, or the number of jobs created, for example, which is really an impact in the institutions. So sources of verification are self-declarations and other validation documents. Then we have indicators that are management or, let's say, activity related. This is related to the number of MSMEs and people participating in activities or events or B2Bs. The sources of verification are lists of participants, training materials, among others. Of course, these indicators are important, but they do not directly have an impact. But they are the basis for later on having an impact in many cases. And then we have indicators that are specific to your proposal. That means those indicators that are not related to the indicators of the All-Invest program, but are very particular to your individual project. So in the end, it's like a pyramid that your projects are contributing to the overall indicators of our component, and we with our direct implementation as well. But of course, you could have your own indicators that are only valid, let's say, for your own project. So let me provide you with some concrete examples. So for the impact indicator, for example, the number of MSMEs that have reduced drinking water consumption. The source or means of verification is a self-declaration. This is a file that may be obtained from our monitoring and evaluation platform that we developed, and which is for the management, which supports the projects and us in the management of the projects, and which is already in use. And only if necessary, other files can be added, such as, for example, the invoice of the consumption of drinking water, to see what was really the change from one moment to the other. For the activity-related indicator, in reference to program indicator 2.1, which, if you remember, is the number of audience reached in events to disseminate the experience and insights provided by the project. An indicator could be the number of participants in the dissemination of good practices. The source of means of verification is the list of participants, which is also available as a format. Sorry. Can you still see my screen?
No, Frank, we cannot.
Yeah, I assumed, sorry for the inconvenience. So do you?
Yes, now yes. Yes, perfect.
So here we are, and another option or an example for the indicators specific to your proposed project could be the number of awareness raising activities carried out. So in principle, you can propose indicators that are only relevant for your own project. But of course, it would be recommendable to see that the indicators that you're proposing are contributing to the overall indicators of the program. I mentioned the 2 specific objective indicators and the 3 others out of the 5. But of course, you can, in addition, we are happy to receive proposals that reach even more indicators than the minimum ones that we are mentioning in the documents. So, and here is the action plan, the format, how it is also in the guidelines, as mentioned earlier. So it's important to put in the first column the nomenclature of our indicators, so that we directly know which activity is linked to which indicator. And this one, then a concrete activity should be mentioned, and the distribution of what you are planning to implement, how many indicators you are planning to reach throughout the year, with a total at the end. So let me, perhaps it's better to give a concrete example. So here on the left-hand side, you see 1.1, which is indicating the All-Invest program indicator that you are trying to reach, and this is linked to result 1.1 of your particular proposal. And the activity that you're planning is, for example, international packaging industry forums will raise awareness among MSMEs in the packaging sector. And you're planning 3 events, one in month 3, one in month 5, and one in month 7. And in each event, you're trying to reach 100 participants, MSMEs. So the target for the first year would be 300. And another example would be if you have an activity that relates to the program indicator 2.1 and which is linked to your own result 1.2, which could be called as an example circular economy seminar to disseminate best practices of beneficiary MSMEs, and you foresee 400 participants in month 11, then this sums up to a total of 400. So this is only to give some short examples how to fill in these action plans. And this was everything from my side. So I hand over again to Irene, who will continue with the budget part, also a very important part, which has to be looked into further. Thanks.
Thank you again, Frank. Now that you have a very clear idea about the log frame, I know it's a little bit complicated and we are going a little bit fast, but you have all the information and explanation on our website. This is just to be to give you some tips about presenting your project. So let us start explaining some concepts about budget and eligible costs, etc. So this is our website, and under Annex 3 budget, you have the Excel file in 3 languages, as everything. So you have to download, read it, and fill it. You have, this is the Excel file. You have several sheets in it. For example, okay. The first one is general, and the last one is explanation of budget lines. Those sheets are just general information that will guide you to fill in this form. And then you have justification, budget, expected source of funding, and division between partners that should be filled in. So let's talk a little bit about eligibility criteria. So costs must comply with the following criteria to be carried out during the implementation of the action. The cost should be reasonable, justified, identifiable, and verifiable, respond to criteria of economy and optimization of resources, comply with the labor tax legislation in force in each country, and costs should be necessary and allocated solely for the implementation of the projects. So let me show you here. This is this image I'm showing you is the sheet you will find in our budget template. For example, some eligible costs are travel expenses of staff taking part in the action, the cost of the personnel assigned to the action, including gross salary and social charges payable by the employee, and some non-eligible costs are, for example, in-kind contribution, large-scale machinery, equipment and supply, and loss due to exchange rate differences. The other fact sheet is the budget line detail. In this table, you will find a definition of the cost that can be included in each budget line. You will find the detail, this detail on the sheet 5. It is important to review this information with the detailed cost coverage in order to concretely allocate each expenses to the appropriate line. I suggest you to fill in the budget template after reading carefully all of this information. So here you can see the budget template. Just keep in mind that there is a lot of comments that will guide you to understand the budget and to fill in properly. And be careful, watch out, because the file has formulas on different sheets. Don't modify them, just fill this file. Do not create a new one, otherwise it won't work. Let's talk about some important lines of the budget. For example, human resources. Human resources is considered as a permanent staff on payroll assigned to the project, either full or part-time. You have to indicate job position, institution, and percentage of the dedication. Let me show you how. No, sorry, I made a mistake. Just a second. It doesn't work, I'm sorry. So, well, this is the information I wanted to show you. You have to write the title of the partner, the position of the person, let's say project manager, CCN, it can be the name of the institution, and 50% the dedication of the people working on the project. You have to fill in all the line number 1, human resources, with this information, and some additional one I will show you right now. So, yes, here, okay. So you have to calculate the number of units per month. The unit value must include the cost, salary, and social charges. And keep in mind that there is something that is not eligible. It is the payment of performance or target achievement or bonuses. So how you do that? Let me try if it works here. Yes, okay. So, for example, we assume that this is just an example, okay? We assume a maximum of 22 working days per month and project duration of 24 months, so 2 years. In this case, considering that the duration of the project in days is 528, this is equal to 22 days by 24 months. And it is estimated that the project administrator will work 15 months, which is equivalent to 330 days. To calculate the percentage of the dedication, it could be 330 days divided by 22 days by 24 months. This is finally equal to 62.5%. So I know this is a little bit complicated calculation, but keep in mind at the end, it's very easy and you have all this explanation on the comments on the budget. So I know it will be easy. Please also note that once you have been awarded with the project, you will need to send us a copy of the employment contracts and payrolls, pay slips, salary slips, etc. Sorry. Here I come again. Okay. Another important cost that you can include in your project are the expenses related to per diem and travels. So per diem covers accommodation, food, local transport, including transfer to and from the airport, except for the trips arranged by SEQA. I will show you that in the budget we have a separate lane for the flying, for the trips we will arrange like a transversal activity. The daily per diem rate should not exceed the rate published by the European Commission as of February 2020. You will find the link to this table with the rates on the budget too. So some other important information in the item 2, you have travel. Only economy and tourist class flight will be accepted with a baggage allowance of 23 kilos. In the line 2-3, local transport, this means travel by other means of transport than flight. Airport transfer costs will be accepted for travels and to from the airport when organized by SEQUA. Vehicle use is also allowed. For the project activities, petrol and other are recognized to a maximum of 20 cents per kilometer travel. We will give you a table that you have to fill in order to be those costs eligible. So here you have the amount I mentioned before. Please do not change anything. These expenses that are already allocated in the budget refers to the travel we are organizing during the program. That means some travels in different countries in Latin America to exchange experience and to do some activities together with all the projects we are working on in Latin America. Other budget items are equipment and supplies. For example, this might include basic office furniture, laptops, beamers, printers, and so on. Please note that there is not be as eligible expenses, large scale machinery, equipment, and supplies of these types, which can be allocated in the project is, for example, office rental, office supplies, and other services such as electricity, internet, telephone, etc., under the line for project office. Then in the item 5, other costs and services, we can mention under this line 5.2, for example, expenditure, audit, and verification. An external audit report is mandatory to apply for the pre-financing, except for the first of core, or also for every reimbursement you will require. In the line 5.5, financial services should include bank charges, fees, and the cost of issuing a letter of warranty in the case of requesting an advance of fund. And in the line 5.6, for example, under conference and seminar, costs include room hire, equipment, catering, and also include services of speaker and exhibitors. Then in the line 6, in item 6, which is other, here you can include all external experts. For example, national or international experts who are not on the payroll. You can also include studies, research, and survey services that are carried out by companies, not by consultants, that are not in the payroll of your organization. And finally, let me show you the budget in the part of justification. I hope you can read it well because I know it's a little bit small. So here you also have comments in this sheet, so you can read everything, all the explanation to fill this chart. So please keep in mind that we are going to ask you to describe the cost according to your calculation and according also to every activity which is related to the result and to the indicator of your proposal and at the end of the program as explained by Frank. The only expenses that you don't have to explain individually are the human resources, that means the line 1. Here you have, okay, pardon. Here you have the first red circle shows contribution by the program. Then you have your own contribution. The third one is the total budget of this project, for example. And finally, the percentage of funding requested in relation to the total budget. In this example, is 80% requested to the project, to the program, pardon. And finally, the last part of the budget is the division between partners. The program contribution should be distributed on these sheets between the leader and the project partners or the co-applicants. A rule of this call is that the financial support must not exceed 300,000 euros per applicant. So for the whole duration of the program. Therefore, please, if you were awarded in the first call with a project, write down the amount here and also the division for this project that you are requesting now. So this is all from my side now. I will pass to Nicoletta, and if we have time, I will show you fast our website at the end of Nicoletta's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Irene, and thank you, Frank, for this information and for the support offered in filling in the application. So as a last step, we're going to see some do's and don'ts. So I will share the screen again in my presentation, and we will see which are the common, let's say, mistakes and to avoid, and give you some tips on how to apply. So let's start first with the application process. So very important is to use the provided templates that you will find on the Alinvest Verde website. Each template has its own instructions, so please follow the instructions. Do not modify the templates and stick to the page margins, to the page limit, font and size. So we recommend you not to add any additional not required page. Otherwise, these pages will not be considered in the evaluation process. In terms of application documents, very important is for you to highlight the type of institution and its non-for-profit nature, meaning that you have to take the statutes, provide the statutes, highlight the non-for-profit nature part of your statutes, both as you are a main applicant and for each co-applicant. In case the statute documents, so these documents are not in one of the languages of the application process, so not English, Spanish, or not in Portuguese, please include a translation. 30, it's very important to submit external audit reports and submit copies of profit and loss financial statement and balance sheets for the last 3 years. So respect this time frame, otherwise the documents will be not considered for the evaluation process. And lastly, please highlight the strength of your consortium. So your consortium experience, please highlight your experience in terms of project management, your technical expertise related to the action that you are proposing, and the experience, your past experience in working with EU-financed action. Related to the budget, so we've seen Irene explain all the steps to fill in the budget. Please submit the budget in Excel format or similar format, and do not send the file in PDF. Consider when drafting your budget any audit and visibility costs and costs related to the issuance of your financial guarantee. Also, when calculating your HR costs, so human resources costs, please do not forget to include social charges. Explain each of the activities in the budget. So we should find a correlation between what you write in the description of the action and the item that you state in the budget line. There should be a correspondence and a justification. Also, do not forget that SEQA contribution for each institution participating in the Alinvest Verde program cannot overpass the 300,000 euro. Related to the logical framework, you see that most of the target in the logical framework refers to number of SMEs. So they are quantitative and related to the financial beneficiaries, small, medium-sized enterprises. So please avoid including percentages. For the specific indicators, set the name of the indicator and very clear and quantifiable targets. Link these targets to obtainable and achievable sources and means of verification. In the proposal, you should comment on cross-cutting elements, such as support to women and youth, and to highlight the replicability and of your action and of fundable action. Very important in the evaluation process is really the aspect of sustainability of the action that you are proposing. So you should prove that your proposal is financially sustainable, meaning you should provide information on sources of funding to cover all future running and maintenance costs of the action. Mention any structure, any capacity and expertise that will be mobilized and that will ensure that the results of the action will also be continued after the end of the project. Mention which is the institutional ownership, so why the applicant and co-applicant decided to present the action and their commitment for sustainability. And also we want to see that you highlighting the impact, the impact of the action on a larger scale. So the action should be replicable and should be scalable. Lastly, successful projects are those projects that have full control in what they are implementing. So we want you to describe any internal monitoring system that you intend to apply during the execution of the action. Okay, so here, before we go to the question and answer session, I see we have a little bit of time still. So I would invite Irene to share to show the project website and maybe also the B2Match platform. In the meantime, if you have any question, you can post them in the question and answer box.
Thank you, Nicoletta. Are you watching my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. This is what we shown before. So here, this is our website under component 1, second call. You will find this land page of our website. As you see, here is the deadline. So you cannot miss application guidelines and all the information here. Find here the documents you should use to submit your project. Everything is here in 3 languages. You have some resources, let's say some videos and some flyers to read through. And then this is the form where you have to click on fill in your information and upload all the forms you fill in previously. If you want to attend another session, all of them has the same content, but if you want to watch it, for example, in Spanish, because I saw in the chat that someone was asking if this workshop will be done in Spanish, you can sing it in for another workshop. Tomorrow we are doing another one. I think this week we have 3 more workshops in Spanish. Here, find a partner. So to find a partner in Latin America or in Europe and UK, in another case, you have to register here and you go. Just a second. Here. So this is the B2Match platform where you can log in. And as you can see, mine appear in Spanish. You have the number of organizations per country that are registered. And finally, I wanted to show you something more. Okay, if you still have some more questions, this is the email address where you have to send your questions. We are answering the question with a 10 days more or less delay, and until the 2nd of August you can ask your questions, and the last time we will answer will be on August 12th. And this is the form you have to fill in to send to us. so we will answer you. Just keep in mind that we cannot answer questions regarding eligibility. We usually receive a lot of questions like, for example, I'm an NGO from I don't know where, and I'm doing blah, blah, blah. I want to know if I am eligible. We cannot answer this kind of question. You have all the requirements on the guidelines. So we think it's clear enough, because then you can be eligible, but we need to check a lot of documents we're going to request that you will see in the guidelines. So please avoid this kind of questions. So now I give the floor to Nicoletta again for some questions.
Yes, we've seen there are some questions posted in the chat and in the question and answer box. The first one was if we can share the presentation, so I can reply myself. We're going to post the recording of this session on the Alinvest Verde YouTube channel. I see we also receive many questions, so I start from this one.
Nicoletta, just an additional comment. If you go through our YouTube channel, you will also see an inspirational, let's say, video with the people that are already awarded, the organizations, pardon, that are already awarded from the last year. So as Frank mentioned, we have 24 projects, and then you can have an idea about what those projects are about. So you will see the thematics, the partners, etc. So I think it's very interesting, and it's in our website. You can watch it with English subtitles if you want.
Thank you, Irene. So we have a question regarding audit. So do both main applicant and co-applicants have to undergo an audit?
So thanks for this question. A good question. In the end, the contract will be signed by the leading entity, and the leading entity is where everything comes together. This means the financial and technical reports will be handed in only in a centralized way by the leading entity, by the coordinator, and hence there will be one audit to be done over the whole expenses of each project.
Okay, thank you, Frank. We also have another question. So AHKs do count as entity of the EU, right? So just maybe an explanation for all attendees. So AHKs are the bilateral German chambers abroad. So do they count as entity of the EU?
Yes.
Yes,
they do, and also other bilateral European, bilateral Chamber of Commerce. Let's say European Chamber of Commerce based in Latin America, they will be counted as European partner. We already have some of European Chamber of Commerce based in Latin America that are already awarded in some project from last year.
Third question, why does the co-financing vary from 50% to 80% of the eligible expenses?
It's to provide you with a certain room for maneuver. Now you could ask for 80%, but if you have, for example, strong co-financing, and you know that you have other financial means that could contribute to this specific project, you could even propose a proposal or project with a higher total value and only ask for 50, 60 or whatever percent as contribution from the European Union.
Okay. Another question is related to financial statements. Hello, both coordinator and co-applicants have to submit the last 3 years financial statements. So both the coordinator and the co-applicant.
No, this is asked for only from the coordinator. This is spelled out in the guidelines as well.
Okay, I think, yes. So we had a question on natural person. can the costs of natural persons under direct contract be considered as staff salaries cost?
This depends how the contract is done. Normally, in the first budget line, human resources, the people who are working for the institution with an employment contract are considered under this budget line, while all the other experts, freelance experts, external experts, are to be put under budget position number 6.
Okay. Okay, I see we have really a lot of questions. Yes, maybe you can comment. There was a question regarding innovation and digitalization. So they want to have more details about how to support, how the support is understood in these areas.
Yes, some examples are mentioned in the guidelines, but it's important to mention that digitalization as such is not the final target, let's say. So digitalization should always be an enabler to contribute to this green transformation. So if you digitize procedures, and that's why these procedures in the end are greener, are less, more efficient than before, then this is definitely an issue for digitalization. But it's not, the aim should not be only to digitalize because of this, for the sake of digitalizing. There should also always be a concrete aim regarding this green transformation in the end. And innovation in the end means something that is completely new or could be replicated from other sectors. For example, if you're already doing an innovative project in, let's say, in the avocado value chain, and you would like to transfer this to another value chain, then this is also considered as an innovation. Not only if you're doing the same in another region, this of course not, but if you apply this for another value chain, this could be considered as well.
I would say maybe we reply to one last question. I see there are many questions both in the chat and in the question and answer box, but maybe there are the specific questions related to specific case of the organization. So I prefer that these questions are all submitted via the special form and the dedicated email address. But maybe this last question to clarify on the eligibility criteria of the partnership. So I understood that the applicant and co-applicant should be non-for-profit companies or institutions. But should the enterprises that will be beneficiaries of the project be actual partners of the project?
No. So the consortium must be composed of non-profit entities. And of course, there could be an institute subcontracted, but no for-profit institution can form part of the consortium. It's not important how little the involvement may be. This is not at all eligible. But all the institutions that are beneficiaries in the end are medium and small and medium-sized enterprises with a for-profit, of course.
Yeah. So thank you, Frank, and thank you, Irene, for your feedback. We are now at the closing of the session. So again, for those that did not receive a reply because the question was too specific to their case, please send all your questions using the official form that you find on the Alinvest Verde website under the subpage second call for proposal. You will see there's also a dedicated email address for questions, so please send the form to the dedicated email address. Very important, I think one message that we have to convey is to people not to wait until the very last moment to submit their application. You may incur in some technical problem in the platform and so on, so please do not wait the last days to submit and upload all your documentation. Lastly, I think a very important tool made available by the program is the B2Match platform, so the matchmaking platform for the second call for proposal. We posted the link also in the chat box, so please make good use of the platform. And lastly, I want to thank Sequa, so our project lead, for the continuous fruitful collaboration and also for the support in organizing this information session. Please be aware that there are other information sessions that are being organized both in Spanish, Portuguese, and another one in English on the 13th of June. And as final word, I want to thank you all for attending the webinar and for your interest in the call, and to wish you success in the submission of your innovative proposal and for your work in addressing the green transition challenge. So a good rest of the day to all of you. Thank you very much again.